So it's been 2 days since I took the kids to get disbudded. Let's check on them. Hey, Gruff. So I talked to a couple friends who sell goats locally and who have horned and disbudded goats and asked their opinions about what they thought about the process and whether or not it was really necessary. So my original school of thought was if you would like dehorned goats, you might as well breed polled goats because polled goats are naturally hornless and it doesn't cause any pain or any risk to the goat to just be born with no horns. Our buck Havoc is polled, Tempest over here, she's polled, Margot is polled, one of our meat goats is polled. I really like the polled genetic, it's quite nice. So ultimately, for me, I had decided I'd like to keep horns on my goats. Not only do I think they look really gorgeous the way that they're born, horns do provide a kind of air conditioning system for the goat. There's a really giant blood vessel that runs through the horn, and it's a way that they can kind of cool off their blood in the summer. This is really more important for animals like pack goats that are doing a lot of work, like a lot of cardiovascular activity. There's a theory out there that horns can provide a defense mechanism against predators, and I think the impalas on the African savanna will tell you that that's not super effective. I did decide this time to go ahead and disbud the registered goats that I was going to sell. Disbudding them gives more of a broad opportunity for my buyers. They can buy a show goat and I can charge a little bit more for a show goat. Hi, sweet girl. Woo! So, by all appearances, these kids are doing just fine. I'm actually quite shocked. I expected them to act like they had a headache or super lethargic. No, the second that the disbudding was done, they were kind of just in the crate looking at me like, okay, can we go home now? I want some milk. Hey, Tempest. Tempest here is polled, so she's naturally hornless and did not need disbudding. So need is a relative term with the disbudding. We have plenty of horned goats. We've got quite a few polled goats like Tempe here. And we do have a few disbudded goats. I will say I used to be a lot more against disbudding than I am now that I have fully experienced it myself. So I've castrated our own goats before. Tumnus we castrated ourselves, and all of the meat goats that we have here I've castrated. But they do react more strongly as far as a pain response goes to the banding than they do the disbudding. It doesn't seem like, as long as it's done well, that it really causes them any kind of long-term suffering. God, this little girl is so needy. I want to remind everybody that Tempe here is dam raised. She has not had a bottle in her life. And look how friendly. So Idolin here, she's got her horns. Her horns haven't caused her or anyone else any grief, but she did manage to break a leg. This one right here. Oh, she's healed up real nice though. It was about 6 weeks after Havoc broke his leg, if you remember that. What's that, guys? Hi, Bobby. I don't have snacks for you. Nope. Even people who don't show their goats often prefer disbudded goats or goats without horns because they're afraid that they'll get stuck in fences, which does happen. And sometimes horns can be a safety risk for humans and goats. Thankfully, I've only caught a couple horns to the shins or my thigh before, but I also have Nigerian dwarves. These big guys, I think it would intimidate me a lot more. If you saw our last video, you'd see that our La Mancha buck, Cash, had to be put down because of urinary calculi. Really, really sad to lose him. Thankfully, our La Manchas are all bred. They're due to give birth end of February, early March, and we'll be able to replace him with one of his sons. The La Manchas are big. It's not like a little tiny Nigerian with horns that could still pose some risk, don't get me wrong. But a big old La Mancha buck with horns hanging out with my small little polled Nigerian buck, I don't think I want to take my risk with that. So with or without horns, goats can really get into some trouble. I had mentioned Havoc, our polled buck, breaking his leg earlier. Here's that video if you want to see that.
Tempy, are you needy?